One, two, one, two, three.
Hey, welcome to Missed Takes, a show where we disprove movie goofs with a combination of quick wit and bullshit. I'm your host, Ryan. With me, as always, is my co-host, Eric.
Hello.
And our guest today is Trish.
Hello.
Now, if you haven't seen the show before, basically what we do on Missed Takes is we take a single movie, we go through a list of movie mistakes, and it's up to us to explain how they're not actually mistakes at all. But the trick is we need to do it within the storyline of the movie itself. And of course we have tasty beers to drink, but we'll get to that in a minute. Now Eric, what is our movie today?
Evil Dead 2.
The beer we're going to be drinking as we talk about Evil Dead 2 is Bass Cannon from Mikerphone Brewing. Boom! There's our bass cannon sound. So Bass Cannon from Mikerphone Brewing. Two reasons. One, the color matches the blood color of the fantastically gory film, and also Bass Cannon, boomstick, that's what we're going with. And a big thank you to Mikerphone for letting us shoot in their badass tap room. So cheers.
Cheers.
Breakfast.
That's good. That's good. I'm going to need 9 more of those. Now, before we get into the movie mistakes, we're going to take a few minutes to talk about just our reactions from the film, having just seen it. Kind of our hot takes section, which I'm going to do a logo splash. I think that's really funny. Motherfucking hot takes! Anyway, and we're going to start with Trish because she somehow amazingly had never seen Evil Dead 2 before. So what are your fresh reactions having seen it?
So I've avoided, I don't know, horror, gore movies are just things that I've kind of avoided. And so thinking about this movie, I was not sure, but you kind of convinced me that it's really more campy. And actually it was good. I liked it. It definitely was very campy and cheesy.
Yes. And gory.
Yes, and there definitely were parts where I'm like, I still got scared.
Well, I think part of it was I think Evil Dead, they try to make a scary movie, and the first one's pretty scary, but also it's kind of campy, and Evil Dead, the first one's kind of accidentally funny, so I think they kind of leaned into that for this one.
Because you could just see the edge of the budget, in everything they did.
Yes.
Both in the first and the second one, so.
Yes.
One of the things that happens right in the beginning of the movie, and I just never noticed it before, but he's driving in the middle of the road when they come out of the bridge. Like, what the fuck, man? That's unsafe driving.
I noticed that too. It was like almost, oh shit, yeah, like, oh, maybe I should get over to the right. Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Also, there was when they're talking about the Book of the Dead in the beginning, they're talking about how it was written when the seas ran red with blood. And is there a year for that? I don't remember when the seas ran red with blood. Maybe that was
something with the
I missed
Moses
that day.
and the pharaohs.
Missed that day.
I think, back then.
Oh, I guess.
The plagues. It was a plague.
Oh, plagues. Thanks for nothing.
Yeah.
Jesus. The fucking hair-eating scene still bothers me to this day. I can't fucking handle that. I get so uncomfortable when he's just fucking mounting down on the hair. It's like, all the other getting stabbed and the buckets of blood, fine, but the fucking hair-eating. That's the scariest part of the whole goddamn movie.
Probably because it harkens back to just, since you own cats, I've had cats, it's like, oh god, the cleanup for that, the hairball, oh god, no, nothing good is going to come out of that.
Well, maybe that's it too. Like, you wake up in the cabin, you don't know, is that a ghost or is that just a ghost coughing up a hairball?
Yeah.
Like, are they attacking me or is it just? And then you got to try to get the ghost off the bed before it vomits on the bed. It's the worst.
Hardwood floor.
Good job for a cameraman. Best cameraman job ever because you could just run through the woods and chase Bruce Campbell with camera. And Bruce Campbell, I think we can all agree, is the king of overacting. And one of the parts, there's lots of intentional laughs in this movie, but one of the weirdest parts that makes me laugh every time is when he does this weird yell in a chair, like he's like half getting out of it. He goes, oh! Oh God, I laugh so fucking hard every time.
I was trying to figure out what was he yelling about. I didn't quite get it.
It's just
I didn't know if I was missing something because I just, don't know the lore behind all the different movies and that sort of thing.
You're not missing much.
Okay.
Like all the lore you need to give you in the first 6 minutes. That's just Bruce Campbell being fucking weird.
Yeah, the other thing that I noticed was that every time somebody would gush blood, it was always a different color. I'm not really sure why that was. It was kind of like, it started off, there was some red, and then there was green, there was blue, there was black, there was this weird salmon color that was more like
If-
almost
if
like
there should have been a
mop
tie-in
bucket water.
to Gushers, right?
Yeah, actually, yes.
Every blood's a different flavor.
Yeah, and I was trying to figure out, is that because like somebody's more evil, or like is there some sort of reasoning behind it? I don't know.
No, I think it was just they had a bunch of different colors of blood. I think
yeah.
let's create an internet quiz of what color blood Evil Dead 2 are you?
Yeah.
Evil Dead 2 blood color blood you. Yes, words. All right, so let's get into the mistakes themselves. Who wants to start us off?
All right, here's a big one. We'll dive into the.
Oh, they're all big ones.
Yeah.
There's no little.
So,
this whole movie
when-
is a movie mistake.
When the character of Annie is trying to pull Jake out of the cellar as he is being nommed on by Henrietta in the cellar,
Oh, Henrietta.
and she's basically being sprayed down with what looks like Hawaiian punch.
Yes, that's the salmon colored
Yeah.
blood that I was. Yes.
Okay, so she's basically taking that like the kid in UHF who gets hit full in the face with a fire hose. 2 seconds later, she stands up, and she has like a little dribble on her shoulder.
Yes. It was just like that little. What? How is that even possible?
So even
Okay.
with synthetic fibers and stain-resistant polyester, it's like that's there's a limit there to that.
No, see, I think the answer there is her clothes. I mean, she's kind of dressed for adventure anyway.
All right.
So she goes to these dark and terrible places because she rolls up on a plane, right? We know that this chick is into some evil shit. She knows how to read from the Book of the Dead, so she's seen some shit, right? So she knows what's up. So yeah, I think it's just essentially. And maybe she doesn't even know this. Maybe it's a gift from like her grandfather. But I think it's magical clothing. It's hey, work with me on this one. It's woven from ancient Sumerian fibers to absorb all of the blood, and that's why she survives the first time she's stabbed, and she survives a couple times actually because she's absorbing the power of that blood.
So
the clothes are sucking it in and imbuing her with power.
It's the
Duh.
it's the DuPont version of Frodo's mithril shirt.
Yeah, it's Sumerian Mithril, which is my metal band name. Actually, if you guys want to come see me
I totally will.
next weekend. So when he's wrestling with Linda's severed head in the cabin, this is a classic mistake from this one. He says work shed, but his mouth does not move. So the word work shed just appears somehow. But of course, it's not a movie mistake. But why is it not a mistake?
At this point, I think it's actually a combination of his, I hesitate to call it a superpower. You could call it his curse because he is basically at this point, he's possessed. He's been exposed to this stuff for a while.
Right.
He is the prophesized one. So maybe it's just like he's under such stress at that point where it's him kind of flexing that like a telepathic muscle where.
Oh, so it's like a leftover ability from him being possessed. He can just like.
Or it's like it's the precursor. It's the precursor where it's like thoughts become reality. Where it's like we can. To us, it's vocalizing. To him, it's like shit, genuine inspiration.
Okay, I like leftover ghost powers. So like because a ghost can kind of throw their voice.
I was thinking ventriloquism. Yeah.
Yeah.
but
So he's telling himself work shed as just kind of that's how he's getting through this experience. Like work shed.
Work shed.
When the eye is flying through the air and lands in her mouth, you can see a wire on the eye pretty clearly. But of course, that's not
like,
special effects.
Part of the vein or whatever that thing is that just
Yeah,
connects it to like your brainstem, right?
Oh,
That's
and it's so hard and pronounced because like
it's still gooey. It's still
like rigor mortis is set in, right? So it's just it's just a hard vein.
It's just
There you go.
hard.
It's essentially cadaverous Laffy Taffy, just still attached.
Mm-hmm. Hard veins actually going to open for Sumerian fiber. After Ash shoots Bobby Joe, after Ash shoots Bobby Joe, she's holding her arm, but then when she gets in, she's actually injured in a different place. So,
2 things. One, it's buckshot, so there is that. So maybe the pain was just more pronounced in that area. Adrenaline kicks in. Didn't notice all the injuries right away. But also, again, coming from a healthcare professional background, I am stretching that term to such a breaking point. There is a thing called referral pain where it's like, okay, your pain can be in one place, but it actually refers down your arm. Classic
That's
example,
true.
if you've ever seen a lot of bad movies. Someone has a heart attack.
I've seen a lot of bad movies.
They always grab their left arm when someone's like, "Oh, he's got heart problems." That's actually, yeah, your heart is the problem. The pain is actually physically felt in the arm. So, so I think that for the most part covers, Buckshot and Bobby Joe,
Okay.
which sounds like a really horrible Barbie spinoff.
All I want for Christmas is a buckshot and Bobby Joe. Okay. When Ash gets attacked by the evil hand, he slams into a cabinet full of dishes, which come crashing down. But he obviously doesn't hit it hard enough. It's this loud sound as if he had hit it, but he doesn't actually hit it. So what's that sound? Since it's clearly not additional Foley.
No, not at all. No.
Additional Foley is the name of my guitarist in Sumerian thread.
No, I think it's two things. One, it's just your contents may have shifted during the struggle. Also, I think that's also the evil trying to psych him out by making it sound like he is inflicting more pain and damage on himself than
So that's like the reverse of his work shed moment, where they're like trying to mess with his head and create these sounds like, oh, I guess I hit it really hard.
Yeah,
it's
like,
referral pain sounds.
Yeah, it's like, wow, I must have really fucked something up. Did you hear the sound that thing made?
As Ash backs up from the bridge, his tires squeal.
I noticed that too.
On dirt.
In the dirt. Yeah, I'm like, how does that work? Yeah.
Tell me, how does that work?
One, it's an Oldsmobile, so not a quality automobile. So who's to say that's the tires squealing and not just the brake pads wearing away?
I think it's also a spiritual sound. Mm-hmm. Towards the end of the film, Monster Henrietta sounds like a screaming monkey for some reason, and I think squealing tire and screaming monkey are pretty close to each other. So I think that's just kind of like they're about to attack the cars. It sounds like it's the tires squealing, but it's actually the approach of the spirits to the car. It's
their stand-in for like the raptor scream, essentially, from Jurassic Park.
Yeah, exactly. At the end, when Ash arrives in the Middle Ages and he falls on what is clearly square padding in the Middle Ages.
You'd think that, but that is masonry.
Yeah, that had to hurt.
It's just
that sucks.
It's just
oh my God.
It's the prophecy proving it's like, yes, this is the prophesized one. He may be a moron, but he's a durable moron, which is what you need.
Man, you're already getting possessed and attacked by demons, and you get sucked through a portal, and you fall back in time, and you fall on fucking masonry. That's
Also,
some bullshit.
You've cut off your own hand, you've decapitated your girlfriend, you've had to re-kill the decapitated head of your girlfriend. I mean,
I just call that Wednesday, but yeah, I can see how for other people
this dude's been through, he goes through a lot in a very short amount of time and kind of just has a few splotches and stains on his clothing. So again, an idiot, but resilient.
He also, for someone who is getting drenched in blood and getting his ass kicked, he just always looks so damn good. He's just so cut. It's like, I need some bloody scars to really just pull that off.
Yeah, bring out your
It would not work
cheekbones.
for me.
Yeah, you know what I thought was interesting is that, obviously, like, there's black shit that's, like, going on him, and then all of a sudden, he's got, like, one little thing. But throughout the movie, there were some consistent areas of blood on his face that were constantly wet. The mud was caked and dried.
Well, so here's what I'm thinking. I think that is his motivation for himself. Even if it heals, he just needs to stay in the moment, right? Maybe having that constant pain helps you from being possessed again. Like you're not letting your guard down. So I think he's constantly reopening his wounds.
Even at the end when he lands in the medieval times and he's covered in dust. You can still see
the nice
glossy blood. Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
When the spirit is chasing Ash through the house, you can see the top of the set, and the house has no roof. You see the rigging of a set, or what looks like the rigging of a set, but of course that's not what you're actually seeing.
Theory on this, from my takeaway from that was that the evil spirit. Look, so the spell in that book ultimately is what opens the doorway,
right?
So the evil is, as far as we know, eternal. It's been with us since the beginning. It inhabits basically everywhere. I'm thinking that it also has its own powers that are building. So it's just, it knows that it's like, okay.
Well, I thought you meant actual building powers. It had carpentry and construction skills.
No, it's not a Fortnite player.
Yeah.
It is basically gathering its own strength and kind of opening its own dimensions, kind of tearing away at its own reality, to force more of itself in. And it doesn't quite know. It's been asleep for a while, so It's like, oh, does this okay, does this portal open to more of myself? And, oh, Christ, no, that's like a gym somewhere in Atlanta. Okay, let's try this again. No, wait, that's...
I like how these are like
that's the bottom
starter ghosts. Like they're learning. I mean, maybe that's why you start in a creepy cabin in the woods. Like if you're a ghost intern, you start at the cabin in the woods, and then you can start like when you move your way up the ranks. Now you're haunting like the old Victorian home in the suburbs, but otherwise, cabin in the woods is like that's how you start.
Also, it's like if you've been like I don't know if like I can't speak for anyone else here, but any of those times like I've slept through an alarm, I've overslept. You wake up, it's like you're not at 100%. You're not coordinated. You don't know what's going on. This could be the same thing. So I can only imagine what like a multi-millennial nap must sound or feel like to a ghost where it's like, I gotta chase this motherfucker. No, God. All right, yeah, ooby gooby, spooky stuff. It's like, I just teleported the roof of a cabin to a gym somewhere. Oh,
we have now turned this terrifying spirit into now this ghost who hates Mondays. Like that's what's basically happening right now.
Hey, is there anything more evil than Mondays?
No, well, possibly Fortnite, but
okay. Real kind of tomato.
So when Ash is listening to the tape, his shirt is untucked. But when he runs into the other room, after the scream, his shirt is tucked in.
Yes.
He was going where his girlfriend was, so he wanted to make himself presentable, be a gentleman.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna go one step further. I'm gonna say again, if we're talking ghost intern, there's obviously someone watching this haunting, right? So you have the ghost, the spirits that are doing the haunting, and then you kind of have the oversight committee to see how they do. So I think that was a ghost move. Like, look, I know people are gonna be watching this dude. I want him to look presentable. This is a professional haunting.
Your haunting may be monitored for quality assurance purposes. Okay, here's one. Right before the kind of the beginning of the final showdown, when Henrietta is out of the basement and she is floating around, there's a giant, apparent tear in the crotch. Since it's not a mistake, just...
Right. So ghostly crotch tear. So what I'm going to say is that Henrietta actually is actually pretty fit. She's actually a good-looking older woman. She's been working on her body, and she's been doing some Taibo, but her husband just has been letting himself go a bit, and she doesn't want to make him feel bad. So it's kind of like her own secret reward. She knows that she's getting like tight as shit, but she kind of wears this fat suit so that her husband's like, oh yeah, we're getting fat together. She's like, yeah, honey, we're so fat together. And then while he's just crushing the Girl Scout cookies, she's like sneaking some kale on the side. And then when he goes to bed or he goes off to translate, then she's like, takes off the fat suit, right? Starts working out. So, yeah, it is a real fat suit, but it's not a mistake in the movie. It's just Henrietta's fat suit because she loves her fucking husband. Okay, you monster.
All right, actually, going back to that chase sequence we just talked about, where we established ghost interns Mondays. Again, just kind of pointing out how ineffective or just how groggy is this evil that Bruce Campbell can fake it out by hiding behind a doorway, and it gets pissed off and leaves.
Yeah, I think you covered that. I think it's already grumpy.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm going to get you. He's hiding. Yeah, fuck this. I don't have time for this.
Under the trap door, though, right?
Yeah, barely a soul to be had here. It's like, this is what woke me up. Oh, God. These are some slim pickings.
Oh, it's an impatient ghost. Yeah. I like that. Like, I'm not fine. You want to hide? Fine. We'll do this later.
I'll come back. Yeah.
Plus, I mean, day and night kind of changes pretty often in this movie. Yeah. It's kind of very arbitrary.
The schedule is very, very slapdash.
When you first see the naked corpse dancing in the woods, like you do, it is, like I said, naked, but suddenly when it attacks Ash, it's got like a dress on again. So at what point does a naked corpse hit the dress shop?
Well, and I think it was, she actually had, it was sort of the Game of Thrones, Daenerys look kind of where it was just the one boob.
Yeah. Exploding?
Yeah.
The boob exploding is different. The boob exposed.
What episodes have you been watching?
Yeah, I think
it's my own fanfic.
Okay. She wanted to kind of leave a little to the imagination and not just be like, here everything is. So I got to, put some clothes on, but not all the way.
Oh, so after the naked dancing, she gets back to her ghost lair. She's like, oh my God. Like, I can't believe I just did that naked. How embarrassing.
Yes. Yep.
So it's good to know that even reanimated corpses have modesty. you know,
And
and a little
dignity.
tease.
Yeah.
Like the little tease.
That's right.
Also on that, there is there is a part where when she has kind of put her skin back on, and she's
We just casually say that. You know, when you put your skin back on.
well, and she, you know, like her hands, like she grabs Bruce Campbell and she's just basically banging his head against that 2x4 he's got up against the window. If you look real close, you can see, like, when the POV is, you look at her face directly. She's facing the camera. She's got the makeup on and everything, and her hair is clearly blowing around. But when it's shot from behind, you can see her hair is being held back by a scrunchie, like a rubber band of some kind. So, you know, is this just a demon thing to mess with Ash, where it's like,
Yeah, I think there's kind of the
My hair's up. My hair's down. My hair's up. My hair's down.
I think that's a good way to undermine his sanity, because I think they're kind of going two-prong approach. Like, obviously, we're going to have giant tree monsters and a big face that comes in, and we're going to chase you, but that's kind of level one. We're also going to fuck with you in these really subtle ways, like hair changing, blood color changing. I think, and he's wearing like different clothes entirely at some point.
Motion, yeah.
So I think that's kind of, yeah, it's kind of here's the big approach, and then here's just a little needle thing to keep it going, right? And this ghost is kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Just wanna-
Okay, another one. After he cuts his own hand off, and so he's lopped it off at the wrist, but that hand, when it's skittering around, has quite a bit of its forearm still left.
So, well, again, I think we've already kind of addressed that Ash has some latent supernatural abilities.
Okay.
Either from the possession or maybe from absorbing the blood. So I think essentially he has regeneration ability, which is also why he has to cut his
nails also grew
right.
out
Yep.
longer.
So I think he has like
You know.
really base level healing factor.
Okay.
So the hand is essentially regrowing a new Ash, which is kind of terrifying. And there was a second Ash in Army of Darkness. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
it's
where it
evil,
came
but
from.
he had to swallow a mini one. But yes, there was an evil Ash.
Yeah, so I think it's Ash is basically Wolverine. When the thing is, there's actually one of the other mistakes that's on here is as he's duct taping his hand up after he's cut it off, you can see knuckles. But again, that's not his hand. That's not Bruce Campbell's hand. That's his hand is already regrowing. He doesn't even realize it because, again, the combination of these terrifying spirits and hairstyles changing willy-nilly, he just can't handle the fact that his hand is fucking growing back and he doesn't even realize it. He's Wolverine. How does the chainsaw
I was just going to bring that up, actually.
cut through a hardened steel shotgun? It's just like nothing.
That wasn't actually what I was going to bring up.
Ooh. Well, chainsaw,
But yeah,
mistake
we'll go
one.
with that one first. Yeah.
How does it cut through a hard-ass shotgun? Just like,
Well,
Yeah.
two things. That shotgun, clearly antique. I mean, kind of hard to tell. I don't know firearms that well, but you know, if that cabin's old, maybe that's
I'm good with that. I'll go
vintage
along with that.
shotgun. Who knows what kind of upkeep it's had?
Yeah.
You know, if it's been cleaned, oiled.
Someone else probably tried to cut that off, initially, and then they just were like, this is
If
too
it's been
hard.
banged around,
Yeah.
there's defects in the metal.
And I think we have to say this is not a normal chainsaw. I think I'm going to say that
That
the dude, is it the grandfather, right, who's originally doing the Book of the Dead, the reason he's reading that, I think he's actually choosing to battle these demons. I think that's a demon battling chainsaw this man has created. So he's not putting the shit on recording, so he's like, oh, this is just for posterity. He's summoning these demons on purpose because he has this demon slaying fantasy. So that is a
Vorpal chainsaw.
it's a Vorpal chainsaw that he has manufactured to kill demons, but they got the better of him. He never got to that point where he can just start cutting off demon heads with his +2 chainsaw.
Also, at that point, the chainsaw had been used to bisect the reanimated corpse
Yes.
and the head, so maybe just the exposure to that
Yeah.
gave it just enough extra oomph where.
Oh,
okay.
again, there's power in the blood, so the chainsaw itself is absorbing this power from this
Yeah.
blood.
And it did one of those,
I'm
those
absorbing
hair
power
up,
from this
hair
blood.
down type of things too, where it was like the blade shape was changing and the size of the blade was changing and the chain was sometimes there and then sometimes it wasn't.
Spiritual
like
chainsaw.
mind fuck, yeah.
That makes sense.
So
Was that your second
That-
chainsaw mistake?
yes, that was my chainsaw thing. It was like, hey, why is the blade I can see it here and now I can't, and then now it's like really huge. And
Well,
then,
you know what? Maybe what it is maybe the chainsaw kind of changes shape for what demon you're gonna face, right? So
Yeah.
like the chainsaw, like now it's in cutting girlfriend head in half mode, but now it's in attack tree monster mode. So it just kind of shifts.
Yeah.
Basically, this is the most powerful weapon in human history
there you go.
in the workshed. because that's where you put it.
Work shed.
Anything else you boys and girls want to hit?
One last thing I'm going to nitpick on with the hand. When it hits the mouse trap,
Yes.
the thumb is what sets off the trap. When Ash has his little, laugh at his own appendage's expense, when it's flicking it off in the mouse hole, it's the mouse trap is clearly also caught on his pointer finger, so...
Well, first off, I want to address the fact that we just got to say the phrase "flicking it off in the mouse hole."
Yeah.
And I feel like that's an Urban Dictionary entry I want to write later.
Reddit, get on that. Thank you.
We had a couple drinks, and then I flicked her off in the mouse hole, and she hasn't called me back since. All right, so it changes from thumb to forefinger. So what I'm going to say is there's actually a second hand. So when it's trying to regrow a whole ash, it's only able to actually regrow another hand. So there's actually two hands skittering around, which kind of makes sense for as fast as this thing gets around. So I think the first hand hits the thumb, right? And then kind of skitters away. And the second hand is like, oh, bro, what happened? Boom, other mousetrap. And that's why it's so pissed off, where it's like, fuck this! I can't believe this. I went to help this hand. I'm not even an evil hand. I'm the helper hand. I'm a helping hand. And it just got fucked over. So I think that's why you don't see that hand again. It's like, yeah, fuck this.
Yeah, I'm out.
I'm out. And then it became a thing in the Addams
Bury
family.
myself in the woods, man. I didn't sign up for this. One last thing. All right.
One last.
Once Ash arrives
Is that Columbo? Isn't that Columbo always says one more thing?
Except for one more thing.
Yeah. Going full Falk.
When he lands, in the Middle Ages,
Yes.
and he is surrounded by the Renaissance Fair extras. During the pan, it's like, okay, everyone's wearing armor. It's like they're putting their, the best effort forward to make it look like, okay, yes, Dark Ages armor. Why is there a dude who's wearing what looks like 80s era chrome oven mitts on horseback? You'll see it when the camera pans
Man, I
over.
missed that one.
Well, because Ash is not the first one to go back. See, again, we're dealing with a ghost intern here.
go?
Ooh, grandfather.
Yeah.
The grandfather went back. So we never actually find out where he went. So maybe the intern set the grandfather back, and just because of the time changes, it kind of changes appearance a bit. But he is not as aggressive as Ash, and he knows there's Deadites there. Like, spoiler for Army of Darkness. And again, because he has this fantasy of being
the evil is eternal.
Right, he has this fantasy of being a demon slayer. So he's much better at kind of fitting in and more of a just watching the Deadites kind of a thing. So that's his best approach at fitting in with some of the shit that he brought back with him.
Okay.
So Ash is actually the second one to go back because now the intern's getting a little better at it. It's like, okay, I'm gonna send the second dude back. Now I know what's up. So
he was the beta test
Right.
victim.
Right now, yeah, right, exactly. Maybe even alpha, maybe Ash's beta. They haven't really gone to full release yet because
They haven't, because they haven't won yet.
Oh, I
so.
said full release. I made it weird.
And you're just picturing Bruce Campbell when you say that.
I always think of Bruce Campbell in full release, doesn't everyone?
I need out of here.
So on that note, we have proven that Evil Dead 2 is a flawless film, so well done. Well done.
All right. Cheers.
Nicely done.
Yes.
Until next time, remember, there are no mistakes, only missed takes. Cheers.